Ready I'm going to be, Susan.
Well, let's go.
Hey. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody's having a beautiful Monday. Welcome to 2025. My name is Ryan Flahive. I am the archivist at the Institute of American Indian Arts and your chairperson for the ATALM Native Emerging Professionals Network. Today we have a nice little short webinar for you called Pitch Perfect, Submitting a Successful Session Proposal. Hopefully many of you are planning to come to our 2025 conference in North Carolina. More about that later. But we'd really like to get you started on the right foot in 2025 and give you some tips on how best to move forward with your session proposal. A little bit about the EPN, the Native Emerging Professionals Network, provides a voice for a new generation of Indigenous professionals, scholars, and allies working to preserve and advance Native cultures. Focusing on people in the early stages of their career, the network is leading the future of the profession, providing a platform for their careers and new ideas and approaches, and serving as a catalyst for positive change within the profession and Native communities. So a few things about what the network focuses on. First thing we do is we really try our best to support entry-level professionals in leading the future of our professions, whether it's in archives, libraries, or museums. And provides a platform for new, innovative approaches and ideas. Change is inevitable, and we like to embrace that concept. We also like to serve as a catalyst for positive change within the profession and within our Indigenous communities that we work in. The network supports regular gatherings to promote fellowship, provides training and resources to advance careers, like this webinar, and encourages mentorships to build lifelong connections, which is one of our main programs in the network. So this year's conference theme, as you think about what you want your proposal to look like, what you want it to match, is moving forward, standing strong. Moving forward, standing strong. We will be meeting at the Harrah's Cherokee Casino Resort in Cherokee, North Carolina, October 7th through 9th. Mark your calendars, block it off. And as we go through this, there's going to be several presenters giving you a variety of information. Please hold all your questions till the end. We'll have a Q&A, or feel free at any time during the conversation to put your questions in the chat, and we will address them during the Q&A. At this point, I'd like to pass this off to Kelly Hummingbird with ATALM, and she will introduce our panel.
Thank you, Ryan. We are so excited to have these presenters with us today. Each of them bring a wealth of knowledge and experience when it comes to presenting at ATALM conferences, and each have served as mentors with our Emerging Professional Network Mentorship Program. Jennifer Juan is the Assistant Director of Community Engagement at Arizona State Museum. She collaborates with Indigenous community curators, most recently on the exhibition, They Don't Love You Like I Love You, Indigenous Perspectives on Sovereignty. Jennifer's work focuses on community-driven exhibitions and Native-centered collaborations, informed by her Bachelor of Arts in Museum Studies from the Institute of American Indian Arts and her Master's in Museology from the University of Washington. Selena Ortega-Chiolero is the museum specialist for Chickaloon Village Traditional Council, managing the tribe's permanent collection and archives. Selena has a background spanning museums, libraries, and archives, and she supports cultural preservation, repatriation, and Indigenous-focused heritage work. Selena holds an MFA in Cultural Administration from IAIA and serves on the Society of American Archivists Council while co-leading the Indigenous Archival Leadership Program. Ryan Flahive is an archivist and museum studies faculty member at the Institute of American Indian Arts, where he has worked since 2008. He has curated exhibitions, published books and essays, and contributed to preserving IAIA's archival history. Ryan serves on various cultural boards and committees, including serving as the EPN chair, and he has held leadership roles within New Mexico's cultural heritage organizations. So thank you to our presenters for being here, and I will turn it over to you.
Great. All right. So Jennifer, do you want to get us started here with your slides?
Hi guys. Okay, so we're just going to go through everything that we think you need to consider as you're moving forward with your proposal. So what ATALM is looking for is innovative, interactive, and dynamic sessions that engage audiences. And what that really means is we want to talk about what's exciting, what's frustrating. We want to know what you're doing out in the world that you want to share, that you want to have a conversation with other people. Maybe you need feedback. Maybe it's something that you really want to have an opportunity, hello, to talk about what the next step in the field is going to be. Maybe there are collaborations that you're doing that need to be considered in, like, not just archives, but maybe museums, not just fundraising, but maybe talking about ownership when it comes to our communities. You might want to write this down. Session proposals are due on the 20th. It's coming up quick. And there's always more editing that you need to do as you turn these things in. So what I'm going to go over is what the different sessions are that you can apply for in terms of what you want to lead or propose. So we have educational field trips. Those are usually half day or full day on site. They're usually related to the communities that are within the area that were hosted. And there is an educational component to those. It's limited, so it's first come, first serve. So those of you who are able to register for ATALM's conference in advance, please do that. There's going to be an early bird registration day, and it's filling up fast. The last couple of years, it just seems to get bigger and bigger, so definitely plan ahead. The pre-conference workshops, same thing, half day, full day. These are in-depth learning opportunities. So like one of my favorite things that I did was talk about oral histories, and something that was like pounded into our head at that time was like, and no now doesn't mean no forever. So like make sure that if it's important, you continue to work on it. Thank you, madam. And sorry, I didn't bring my charger with me and I didn't want my computer to die. So like these are options that you can do for sure. So we have 60-minute sessions at the conference. So concurrent, those are going to be the sessions that take up a majority of our schedule. 60 minutes, usually a 15-minute Q&A that you can do. And they cover a wide variety of topics. And we're going to go over some of the tracks and focuses later on in a few minutes, actually. There's skill building labs. So if we talk about people that are trying to translate data from cassettes to digital, these are things that some people might know how to do, but these are opportunities for people to learn step by step and to take time with experts so that they can get that. Let's see. So forums and listening sessions. Sometimes you're really early in a project and you're not quite sure how to proceed. And these are opportunities where you can get feedback. Maybe there's other ways of doing it that you haven't considered. So these are all options that you can click on your proposal form. And when they are reviewed, they're going to actually give you some feedback. Like maybe this doesn't fit very well with a 60-minute session. Maybe this would be better for a poster session, or maybe this is a roundtable discussion. So the short and sweet sessions, like a poster presentation, this is done, like the posters will be up during the entire conference, but you'll have 60 minutes where you're going to be standing in front of your poster and people can come in and out of the space. It gets really loud sometimes. It's really exciting. This is an opportunity to exchange information, expand your network, maybe arrange to have those breakfast or lunch meetings throughout the conference. Usually there's about 20 posters that are accepted. And then there's roundtable discussions. Again, this is a time where people are in and out of the exhibit hall. They're taking a break from the 60-minute sessions and they just want to sit down really quick, hear what you have to say, maybe give feedback. It's conversational, it's interactive. I've seen people hand out pages of what they're working on to their tables at that time. Sometimes it really is a conversation. They have a question and they want to have people give them feedback. When we talk about flash talks, these are short and sweet. They go by so quickly. There's usually 3 presenters in this session and they're on like similar interests. So maybe it's working with artists. And the reason why I bring that up is because one year, this was like 5 years ago, there was this guy talking about how they started a project for public art, but they didn't actually have any artists working with them on this project until like the 9th hour. And once they did that, it expanded their entire view. So being able to bring in different people, this was what they learned. And then they did what their initial illustrations looked like versus what it ended up being as public art. So that was just, it was really fast. It was really fun and it made a lot of sense. Inspire talks, maybe you're going to be changing the way things are being done. These are 30 minutes. They're short and sweet. So you have to be concise. People are sitting there. They want to know all of the details really quick. But these are exciting. So if you guys haven't been to the conference before, definitely have an eye out on, I think those two are my favorite, the Flash and the Inspire talks. So I'm going to turn it over to Selena right now.
Hi, everybody. So what makes a great proposal? I find that examples are invaluable in learning new information. So for the next 2 slides, I'm going to be using the example from a session that I submitted in 2023 that was accepted. It was a 60-minute concurrent session, then was a panel presentation with myself and the archivist team from the Anchorage Museum. So number 1, content related to the conference focus areas. In a few slides, you'll see all the different focus areas that are available. But when you think about this, when you're kind of creating your proposal idea, you really want to stay in alignment with the conference theme. So in 2023, the conference theme was honoring and elevating Indigenous culture and knowledge systems. Our project, which at the time was going towards the end of the project, we were finishing up a digital repatriation project. It was really about empowering Native communities and empowering them to implement Indigenous systems of knowledge in collections database management. So for us, the focus area was museums, with archives development and management being a sub topic within museums. The other thing, when you're thinking about this, you really should consider, if you want to do a session proposal about a project you're doing or work you're doing, think about where you are in that process. For us, like as I'd mentioned, we were at the end of our project. So we had a lot of things that we had learned. We had already some metrics to measure how the project was successful. So we felt confident we could convey this information to attendees. If you are in the middle or maybe even at the beginning of a project, you may not be there yet. So consider about your timing, how this is going to happen. You submit in February for a conference that's happening in October. A lot of things can change in that time. So maybe this year may not be the best year for you to submit a proposal. Maybe you should wait until your project's over and submit the next year. So think about that. Number 2 is your session or is your proposal going to be interactive, hands-on? Are you going to provide tangible skills? Useful and practical applications are going to be learned. Is success based on a case study with protocols for replication? In our instance for our project, we because we had learned so many things, taken so many measurements throughout it, we were almost guaranteeing the fact that people could replicate what we did. So that was something that we definitely wanted to present in our session. And then also think about who's going to be giving the session. Is it Indigenous expertise? Plus, they're actually going to be present. Jennifer had mentioned about the artists. Make sure when you're creating your proposal, the people that are presenting it are the most authoritative voice for that topic. So are they considered experts in their proposal area? Are they members of an Indigenous community? Serving Indigenous communities, that's also really important. Because the project that we did was between an Indigenous community and a PWI, predominantly white institution, we wanted to make sure that the panel comprised of that expertise. So I was there representing our Ahtna community, and then the museum staff were there representing the institution. And because it was more of a reparative project, we had those two ongoing voices throughout the presentation. Next slide, please. So, building your proposal. You want to start with your idea. What are you passionate about? What are you interested in? For us, it was about making sure that we could share this wonderful project that both the tribe and the institution were really proud of. The title we picked, Decolonizing Through Virtual Repatriation, a New Vision of Collections Access. We made sure also in our session description to let people know exactly what they were going to be getting out of our session. So for us, it was, we described it. We said it was a 3-year project focused on decolonizing the Anchorage Museum and building relationships with communities the museum serves. Partnering with Naidiniana Kayak, Chickaloo Native Village, a federally recognized Ahtna Dene tribe, the museum is relinquishing its power over its Ahtna-related collections while the tribe continues to restore their cultural knowledge. During this session, the presenters will share how they are creating an equitable relationship that acknowledges cultural connections, provides space for tribal knowledge and authority, and integrates Indigenous practices in a shared stewardship model. So right there, we were already laying the groundwork of what the story we were going to tell during our session. We identified who the experts were. We were making it very clear that we were presenting a case in which we were all contributors to, and then also explaining what direction that case was doing, so from an Indigenous perspective. And then the best way to present the topic, we chose to do a combination of a discussion, a presentation, and a participatory. I've done quite a few sessions for conferences throughout my time, and I've been through some sessions where I really regretted that I went to that session. So as many of you know, ATALM, the conference booklet is a booklet. It's a booklet. So people have the opportunity to go to a bunch of different sessions. You really want to make sure that the people that are coming to your session are going to get something out of it. Don't make them regret that they chose you over a billion other options that they had. So for us, we found that over the years, people really like engagement. They want to learn something, preferably something that they can either replicate or adapt at their home institution, but at the same time, an opportunity for them to ask questions, to learn. And so for us, our session was very much structured where we only gave about a 30-minute presentation where we talked about the basics of our project. We used it I gave them the Native perspective on how our community approached it. The institution gave their perspective on how they approached it. And then the rest of the 30 minutes, we created 3 questions and some learning objectives that we wanted people to learn from. So for us, our learning objectives were, we wanted people to leave by being able to apply a community collaboration model in developing relationships between tribal and non-tribal partners. We wanted them to assess how they could improve access to their cultural knowledge through partner relationships. And then we wanted to demonstrate an improved understanding of reparative collections access and shared stewardship. Now, because a lot of times you will find when you go to a session, people get really nervous, attendees, in asking questions. So you should make sure that you're prepared for those instances. For us, we created 3 basic questions because 30 minutes is not a lot of time, but we also prepared to answer the questions ourselves if nobody in the audience wanted to contribute to the conversation. And luckily for us, we had actually pretty good community conversations, so we didn't have to talk too much. But be prepared. I would say one of the biggest assets to a successful proposal, a successful presentation, is being adaptable. You don't know who's going to be in the room. You don't know what their passions are. You don't know what they need help with. So be really adaptable in that. You really want you need to consider what you want your audience to walk away with. You want, as I mentioned before, how whatever you're presenting can be replicated. And then other considerations that you should make, who's in the room. And a lot of times you will obviously know who's in the room. We all know everybody. It tends to be more of a family reunion at ATALM. So think of those things and just kind of pivot when you need to. The other thing is when you're planning, I'm in Alaska. Anchorage Museum's in Alaska, but we're 45 minutes away. So we did a lot of our collaboration in virtual. The first thing we did is we met virtually just to talk. We didn't even plan anything, didn't do anything. Were we all in agreement about doing a presentation? What were we thinking? And we used that as, yes, we should together proceed and submit a proposal. Then we had a secondary meeting virtually where we had a Google Doc and we had all of the components of the application proposals outlined. And then we just all kind of plugged and chugged our ideas. And then we did that over a course of about 2 weeks. And then third week, we had another virtual meeting where we kind of tightened up everything. And then only one of us was responsible for submission, and that was myself. And that's the other thing. Really keep in mind who is submitting the proposal. It's that person's responsibility to make sure that they're communicating with ATALM, that all of the components for the proposal are in, and then also relaying to the other panelists or other people that are participating, things that they have to be responsible for, registering for the conference, booking their travel and lodging. So make sure you have someone who's kind of leading that. And then that way you'll make sure that everything is good and you're making all the deadlines that you need to.
Selena, can you go over the 3 learning objectives?
Sure. Let me go back. Okay. So for us, it was 1, apply a community collaboration model in developing relationships between tribal and non-tribal partners. 2, assess how they can improve access to their cultural knowledge through partner relationships. And then 3, demonstrate an improved understanding of reparative collections access and shared stewardship. So with those 3 learning objectives outcomes, we addressed every single one of them in our presentation in some way or form.
Fantastic. Thank you. So you can see like everything is going to be super concise. You have 10 words for your session title. You have 100 words for your description. You don't have any for those learning objectives though. And then you have the biographies for each presenter, 75 words. It's not a lot. Ryan's going to go over how to write that. But as a recommendation, your title needs to be catchy and I make very dry titles. Some of the applications, the proposals that I've submitted in the past have actually come back with some edits and suggestions. So don't be afraid to just put yourself out there, turn in your proposal, definitely get that in. In terms of expertise, you wouldn't be submitting a proposal if you didn't feel like you had something to say and to share. So don't let the fact that maybe you're not a doctorate or maybe you're not the lead PI on a grant project, don't let that hold you back. Like there are so many different ways to share our information and to make that connection and build those networks. And it's all valuable. So if you have an idea, submit it. Give it a chance. If you're nervous, maybe start with a poster. Maybe have enough people presenting with you so that not everyone's looking just at you and you're able to share some of that space and that responsibility. I know it helps me. I get very nervous and I apologize for speaking very quickly earlier. So we're going to go on to Ryan.
Okay. So tracks and focus. When I went to my first ATALM in 2009, there were, I think, 3 on this track and all the sub tracks. So you can see how the tracks and focus is kind of it's almost like an upside down pyramid. If you think about historic preservation, language, archives, libraries, and museums, those are the core tracks. And then everything else kind of falls underneath. It's really important when you're writing your proposal that you choose one. You get to choose one. Now, for many of us, myself included, our work and our projects are interdisciplinary. And very oftentimes we might have a project that has, let's say, archives and museums, or maybe it's a language with a library project. I do think it's very important for the reasons that Selena and Jennifer said earlier, for your audience to choose one track and to be very focused on that one track. Everything else is going to kind of fill in, and the audience will figure out, oh, you know what? This is kind of merging these two concepts together, whether it's collection care with historic preservation or oral histories with library services and programs. Those are the kinds of things that we kind of like to see happen organically within a session. And then you can see the bottom tier there is kind of the more specific skill-based tracks and focuses, whether it's technological innovations. Let's say you're working with touchscreens. Let's say you're working with some VR in your gallery. Maybe it's cultural tourism that you're working on with your local community on how to get more people to your cultural center. Rematriation was big this last year, and really took a center stage at our conference. So as we look at tracks and focuses, please keep these in mind. These are also different things you can throw into your description. Even if you choose, let's say you choose archives as your track, that doesn't mean you can't use some of these other keywords in your description to give your audience an idea of what you're going to be covering. So these are 3 different tiers of tracks and focuses, foci, if I might. And I think really kind of frame things out. I'm not sure there's much more we could add to this, but I'm sure over time we'll probably be adding more to this. Thanks. Back to you, Jennifer.
And I just wanted to mention that ATALM does offer certificates for attendees. And so what you'll see in the book and what all of the participants in those certificate programs will get is a recommendation of what will fit into that so that they can have options and attend those specifically. So yeah, definitely think about where you think your project fits. And if you could limit it, it makes it easier for the committee to go through afterwards to select. But, you know, I'm one of those people that definitely says 10 of these things fits my program. So I know how hard it can be. Back to you, Brian.
Back to me. Okay, let's talk about bios. Bios can be difficult. We struggle to write about ourselves in most cases. It's not something that we're comfortable with as humans. But you have to submit a 75-word bio. And if I can say, I mean, crafting a bio might be the hardest part in 75 words.
Hey Dale, it's
So
Chad Smith. My daughter Anna Wig is
okay, there we go. All right, so a good bio should include, and I'm gonna do a little bit of a demo later. Name, relevant education, appropriate work experience, and career focus and goals. And mention something personal if appropriate, if you have the space. Do's and don'ts, and we'll demonstrate this in a minute. Start with your name, current title, highlight key achievements. What are your key achievements in the job you're working on? Active language, and this is something that's really strong in our museum studies program at IAI, is the use of Bloom's taxonomy verbs. If you don't know what Bloom's taxonomy verbs, Google it. It's a beautiful set of verbs that you can use not only for your bio, but for your resume and your CV. Really work on building those action verbs and making it variable. Consider personal touch, tailor to the audience. You know who you're talking to, and keep it concise. 75 words has to be concise. A few don'ts. Try not to be overly jargony. Try to avoid technical terms if you can. One thing that I love about ATALM is we're all learning. We're all learning at the conference. So to use technical jargon is something we'll reserve that for the other professional conferences that happen around the country. But ATALM, let's keep it nice and friendly, and everybody can understand the same technology and words. Don't exaggerate your accomplishments. Be honest. Be concise about what you've done. And in 75 words, you don't have a whole lot of room to exaggerate anyway. Don't include irrelevant information. All of your information should be relevant to what you do, to what you want to do. Even if, let's say you don't have a job, let's say you're a grad student and you're working on it. What is your focus? What is the relevant information that you want to focus on in your work? Always write in the third person. Do not write in the first person. It's really important from a grammatical standpoint that you keep it in the third person, and don't be too long. And 75 words definitely isn't too long. But let's talk about how to do that. Can I share my screen for a minute? Where'd it go? Okay. Share my screen. Okay. And then we have ChatGPT. Now, generative AI is controversial. There are some tribal governments and maybe even some state governments who say you can't use ChatGPT or any other generative AI. But I would say that this might be one of the best ways for you to hone and to generate your bio and to get it to a nice, concise space with all the verbs that you like. So what I've done here is I have my ChatGPT pulled up and I have my resume pulled up, and I'm going to do something. I'm just going to copy this. Copy all of it. All the way down. And I'm sure I would hope that most of you have played around with this. But I'm gonna load resume. Control V. Oh, it's not going in. Okay, let's see. Upload the resume. And why isn't this copying? Can I not copy and paste when I'm screen sharing? Did we not figure that out? It's not copying and pasting.
You may need to use your controls. Like,
yeah, I'm using Control C and Control V. We'll see if it works. Nope, it's giving me a Arizona library thing. So, well, that looks like it might be a bust if I can't copy and paste this. Yeah,
it looks like you're in compatibility mode on that document. I don't know whether that, sometimes I have to make sure that I'm in editing
mode. How do I do that?
If you click where it says compatibility mode or saved to my Mac, you should be able to
I wonder.
Renaming it to open
let me, it's not even gonna let me save it. My apologies for the snafu.
we have plenty of time.
Okay. Yeah, it's not copying pasting at all. Okay, so.
Do you want somebody else to try?
Sure. If somebody would like to. Somebody wants to copy and paste a resume into the chat, I can copy and paste it into ChatGPT.
You keep trying while other people.
Oh, this is a bummer.
You could try to see whether it's Word or whether it's the screen share by opening just a resume through Google and copying from there.
Okay, all right, let's find Joe Blow's resume on Google then. All right, let's use Cameron's. Oh, no, that's not even working.
Ryan,
right,
can you
resume should we use?
Can you open your resume outside of the screen share and copy it and then come back?
I already had, yeah, I already had it open.
Okay.
Let's see. Here we go. No, I don't want to do that. I want to do finding somebody who might have a resume.
Hey, Ryan, this is Lily Hope. I just direct messaged you my Google resume.
Oh, beautiful, Lily. Why, thank you so much for that. Let's pull that up.
Lily saves the day once again.
Yes. Let's find this.
I don't know if it's going to be any different because it is still a Google Doc.
Hopefully. Let's see. Find it. That. Aha. All right. Here we go. Write me a concise 75 word, and that's a typo. That bio from this resume. All right, there we go. There's a beautiful little 75 word resume bio for Lily. And one thing that I would tend to do most times is revise to emphasize education and relevant experience, work experience. There we go. It switches it up. So one thing that I would probably do from here, and this is one thing that with generative AI, we don't want it to finish our work. It's wonderful to start work. It's wonderful to brainstorm and to get you an idea on how to go back and to get things a little cleaner. And so what I'm seeing here looks pretty decent. What do you think, Lily?
That's pretty solid.
Pretty close. Pretty close. So if you're in a pinch and we only have 10 days to do this, I would definitely recommend that you use ChatGPT to generate some of these things for you, and to let it help you kind of muddle through the process. Because really, this isn't what you want to spend your time on. You want to spend your time on your description and your panelists and your ideas and your slides. Like, there's so many things to take care of. The biography should be something that, you know, is something that you use over and over again for sure. So is there any questions about the biography section here? Is there another clarification on ChatGPT you'd like me to make?
We have a question from Angela asking if AI saves your work somewhere, or is that out of your control?
You know, everything I've ever written in ChatGPT goes here. You see everything that I've played with for the last 2 years is in that sidebar. So it does save it. What it does with your data, I have no idea. So be sure not to put your social security number or your tax information in ChatGPT just to be safe. And I would say that it's probably saved somewhere. It doesn't really go away. For me, when I generate something here, it usually goes straight into my Notepad app, and then that gets edited and put into a Word doc and then into a PDF, etc. So this is a nice clean way. It's usually unformatted, which is nice too. That way you don't have to worry about the extra spaces and bullets and stuff like that. So thank you for the question. All yours, Jennifer.
Back to Kelly. Good job, team.
Good job, Lily. Thank you.
Good job, everyone. All right, so thank you to our panelists, Jennifer, Selena, and Ryan, for that wonderful presentation. We're going to offer more ATALM specific information now. We are joined by Susan Feller, our president and CEO, Melissa Brott, the Chief of Operations, Jess Cords, Director of Grants and Special Projects, and myself, Kelly Hummingbird. We want ATALM to be a great experience. And in order to do that, we have the goal of providing innovative, interactive sessions that create highly valued learning experiences for participants. And we do that by offering a variety of sessions, which Jennifer and the team went over a little bit earlier. So because of your high quality proposals, we can offer high quality programming. And to help you with clarifying the proposal submission process, Jess is going to walk through using Submittable.
That is correct. Thank you, Kelly. And thanks everybody for being here. Like Kelly said, I'm going to go over some of the nuances of our Submittable platform. But first, I wanted to start out. This is where we have all of our call for proposals. So you can find the 2025 call for proposals on the ATALM website under the conference tab, that horizontal bar right up at the top, and then call for proposals. Once you're on this page, you will click Session Proposal Form to access the application. Next slide, please. ATALM uses the Submittable platform to accept and review session proposals. I wanted to note that this platform runs best on Google Chrome, Firefox, current versions of Microsoft Edge, and Safari. So make sure that you are using one of these web browsers to ensure full functionality and minimal frustrations. So to start an application, you will need to create a free account or log into your existing account. This allows you to save drafts of your work, to communicate with us, the ATALM staff, and to work with your co-presenters. Next slide. The collaboration tool in Submittable enables groups of applicants to work together in real time. So to collaborate with others, you will click on Manage Collaborations or Collaborators right there, and it's in between the guidelines and the actual session proposal form. Enter the email addresses of your co-presenters in the provided box and click Invite to send invitations. So literally easy as 1, 2, 3. But it is important to note that Submittable, the Submittable account that starts the application process is the automatic owner of that submission. The submission owner is the only account with the ability to send out the invitations for collaboration and will be the only user who can submit the application after it is completed by a group. So to ensure the smoothest collaboration process, we recommend that the primary presenter initiates that application. Next slide. Okay, so whether you're working with a group or not, make sure to save drafts of your work regularly. And that makes sure that you don't lose any information and will allow you to return to the application and revise and work on it at a later date. Once you have completed all the required sections of the form and all of your identified co-presenters are aware that they are named in your session and that they are on board, click Apply to submit your session proposal to the 2025 Program Review Committee. Next slide. Before I turn it over to Melissa, who's going to talk about our selection process and that review committee I just mentioned, I want to share some tips on navigating Submittable really quick. So the colored circle in the upper right corner of your screen is your user account menu. From there, you can access your submissions, your profile information, and your settings. So if you need to change your password to your Submittable account, that's where that functionality is. 2, all completed submissions, drafts, and collaborations will be found under My Submissions. Use those horizontal tabs to navigate between your collaborations with others, your draft submissions, and your actual submitted proposals. To view a specific proposal, you click on the session number. So that 0021 is the session number. So click on it, and then the next slide will show you how that opens up your Proposals Activity Center. So next slide. All right, and that is it. That is your Proposals Activity Center. And from here, you can download a copy of the submitted proposal. You can request to edit a submitted proposal. So for example, let's say that you want to add a new co-presenter, or you notice that there was a typo that you want to correct before it goes to the committee. This edit, you click on that and it will send us a request. We'll open up your application and allow you to do that as long as you do it before the deadline. And that is February 20th. From here, you can also withdraw your application or transfer ownership to another account. This is a new function of Submittable. So in case you started with the wrong person and like you need to switch your primary presenter for your session, use the transfer ownership functionality to do that. And then again, you use those horizontal tabs to navigate between your activity record for your proposal, the message center, which is where your selection announcements or any feedback from the committee, that's where that will show up. You can also review your submitted form and any notes that you may have between you and your group. And with all that being said, if you experience any issues or you have any questions throughout this entire process, we are here for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us at conference@atalm.org. And I think that wraps it up for me. And I'm going to turn it over to Melissa Brott, who is our Chief of Operations, who will talk about the selection process.
Thank you so much, Jess, for all that great information. I'm just going to kind of quickly recap some of the information that was shared with you earlier about, what do we consider when selecting programs? So, we talked a lot about the conference focus areas. So obviously we like to choose programs that relate to those. Our audience attendees really appreciate having, case studies and sessions that, are programs that they could easily replicate. We really encourage hands-on activities or interactive sessions. And of course, we're looking for people who are, an expert or have a lot of knowledge about the topic that they're presenting. And finally, we really encourage that all sessions have that include presenters that are tribally affiliated. Next. So in our selection process, we have, as part of our National Planning Council, a program committee, and we have individuals from across the disciplines of archives, libraries, museums, historic preservation, and those are the ones that will be reviewing your sessions. And so we assign, depending what category your session is in, we try to assign it to an appropriate committee member. They then review your proposal, and based on, the selection criteria, they provide notes. And sometimes they also suggest that maybe the session is, perhaps you submitted for a 60-minute session, but you're only one presenter. So we might suggest that instead you do a 30-minute Inspire session, or maybe your session really lends itself to more of like a roundtable environment. So we will provide you with all of those notes when we send you information about your proposal back, and just say if we ask that you switch your session to maybe a 60-minute to a 30-minute. All primary presenters will be notified of program acceptance by March 26th. And like I said, we'll include those notes that about any, suggestions we have for your session. Sometimes we'll say, hey, you should tweak the description a little bit, or maybe you need to work on defining the key objectives. So all of that information is then the notes that we provide to you. Next. And then finally, we have expectations of presenters. And so when we send you all this information and ask for either revisions or, other notes that we provide you, we need to hear back from you by April 4th, whether you're accepting those suggestions that we had and the session, or if you would like to withdraw. Sometimes, if you have presenter bio information missing or something else, we ask for that information by that April 4th date. And of course, as the process goes on, you will have time to revise your session description if needed, or say a presenter drops out at a later date and you need to change that information in the program book. That's always available to do up until we print our program book in September. Obviously we ask that our presenters, come and do high quality presentations, that their content is clear and concise and engaging. And then we require that all presenters are to be registered for the conference by May 15th. And we do provide our presenters with the conference member rate, which if you register by April 30th would be $350. So that's the lowest conference rate you can get. So we definitely suggest that you register by that time for sure. Sometimes if, we receive a lot of sessions, often we get like over 300 session proposals. So we can't accept everybody. And so we ask that, if your program's not accepted, we will put you on a wait list. And if we have sessions drop out, we will notify you as soon as possible that we would like your, session to now be presented. So just because you don't get in the first time, maybe you will be able to be accommodated this year. And if you're not chosen this year, we really encourage you to submit next year. And now I think that is all, and I'm going to turn it back over to Kelly.
Thank you. And speaking of money, through IMLS, we do have presenter support funds available. We're able to offer a few different tiers of support, including registration only, registration plus lodging, etc. We base this on specific criteria such as the expected impact of the presentation, the number of presentations, tribal affiliation, and demonstrated financial need. So if you get on our website and you go to the conference dropdown and select call for proposals, you'll find the link for the presenter support form. And that has a deadline of February 28th. We will announce the recipients by March 26th. Here are a lot of key dates, and I know this is quite a list, but you'll have access to these slides after we share the recording and whenever they're available on the website. The important information is that February 20th is the deadline to submit proposals. The 27th to request, I'm sorry, my dog is being obnoxious, to request presenter support, and May 15th to make sure that you are registered. And of course, October 7th through 9th, save that date for ATALM 2025 in Cherokee, North Carolina. So this is a lot of information, but what questions can we answer?
Feel free to drop your questions in the chat or unmute yourself.
So there were a couple questions that came in through registration we can probably talk about.
Yes.
And I would like to pose this to Jennifer and Selena. Is it advantageous to submit a panel over an individual presentation?
I can answer for myself. I get very nervous when speaking in public. So if I'm able to make it more of a conversation, I will eventually relax and calm down, which I'm trying to do right now. So I also enjoy hearing the different perspectives of the different presenters. So I've actually never presented outside of a poster, just by myself. So yeah.
And I would say I've had equal success presenting as an individual versus a panel, but I too prefer panels, not necessarily because I get nervous, but I find you have more active dialogue when there's a panel. And I think because there's multiple perspectives, but I really do think it depends on what the actual proposal is, like what the topic is, what the session is, for it to be based on if you're going to consider something successful or not.
Yeah. I would answer that by saying panels are dynamic, roundtables are dynamic, and I think putting yourself up there by yourself is a little, it's harder than a panel for sure. And I would definitely look for like-minded colleagues to present with. And that definitely makes the process easier when you have a good brain trust around your session.
But from
Let's see.
Wait,
Yeah, go ahead.
Ryan, I wanted to add that from a program committee standpoint, we need both 30-minute and 60-minute. The 30 minutes are really for individuals. We don't typically let an individual have a 60-minute concurrent session. So the Inspire Talks really should be exactly that, inspirational, and to talk about something. Melissa, help me out here. How did we define the Inspire Talks?
Yeah, inspirational, impactful, typically one person. I can actually go find our explanation we have written on our website. It's probably gonna say a lot better than I can.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure that people understand that we need 30 minutes and we need 60 minutes. So
Yes,
don't be
absolutely.
discouraged.
And posters and roundtables, you know, just because your session, like maybe we reassign you, like that's not a bad thing. Those are great things. And there's a lot of people who choose to have roundtables. They're really well attended sessions.
Yes.
So
Ryan, I'm sorry.
Lisa, yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. So the cutoff time is midnight Eastern time on the 20th of February. And Lisa asked a really, really important question, which is what happens if I don't have everybody lined up by February for an October conference? That can be really tricky. If you're dealing with a dynamic kind of moving parts type of topic, last year mine was, deaccession policies and its intersection with repatriation and ethical return. That had moving parts for many, many months after I submitted my first proposal. I would do your best to add alternates if you have alternates, and make sure that your description is solid. Make sure that your description doesn't change regardless of who your panelists are. People's lives change, and there's a big gap between February and October where things could get hairy for some of your panelists. So I would definitely think through who your alternates would be before you submit. For me, it's a placeholder. I don't want to call it a placeholder, but that's more or less what I'm submitting a lot of times, with all the pertinent information, with the exception of I might have one or two people who are tentative, but I can't miss the deadline, right? So there is that kind of fine line you have to dance on, Lisa, if you don't have full commitment by February 20th.
But you have many opportunities from now until we go to print to change, to add presenters or change anything that you want. We give you many, many opportunities to look at your session and make changes. And we don't want to deal with placeholders. And as Melissa mentioned, we get more proposals than what we can accept. So do your best work. Make sure that it's compelling, because it is very competitive. And try your best to have your presenters lined up, because the committee also looks at that, who's presenting and what is their expertise.
Yeah, actually, I was just going to say, Selena just popped it into the chat, but I was also going to say, make sure that you do not put anybody on your session that you haven't spoke to about this proposal yet. Like, we've had people sometimes who add names, and then we contact them and say, hey, your session was accepted. And they're like, I'm on a session for ATALM. So make sure you talk to presenters before you put their names on it. We don't want anyone to be surprised.
So there was one final question from registration. Do the presentations have to be new? I'm considering doing a 2-year update since my last presentation. I would say updates are a great inspire or roundtable topic. As we've been developing the Research Center for Contemporary Native Arts here for the last 7 or 8 years, we've been doing updates every single year on what we're doing and how we're doing it and what our funding's like and what our activities are. There are places for those updates, and I guarantee there are people who are interested in your updates. So freshen it up, get some new text, get some new fonts, get some new colors, and have a chat. Are there any other questions from the bunch? No. If not, it is almost 2 o'clock Santa Fe time. Thank you all very much for attending. Please email conference@atalm.org if you have questions, and one of the very helpful staff members will get on it and make sure you have what you need. Thank you to Jennifer and to Selena. I appreciate both of you. Thank you for stepping up and doing this. To Melissa, Susan, Jess, and Kelly, you're awesome. I love you very much. Thank you very much. And everybody have a blessed week. Thank you.
You too. Thank you, everyone.